Hello, I'm Luke Darcy. Welcome to Access All Areas, brought to you by OPSM. It's September. The finals are on, so Damien Barrett and I have wheeled in the big gun, Matthew Richardson. Hello, Richo.
Good to be here, boys. I've been watching you all year, so happy to join you.
He's a big fan of Access All Areas,
every week.
and we're excited to have him with us. Brett Ratton's final game as coach. Boys, how did you see it?
Well, I don't know what to make of it, Darcy. I mean, the Blues supporters here, very appreciative of his work. It wasn't the case, was it, as recently as a month ago when they were calling for his head. I'm glad he's leaving, though, in a way that he can have his head held really high. His performance last week at the press conference was as good an exit speech you'd ever see from a footy club. And I'm really glad because he is a very good person, and I reckon he's been a reasonably good coach. But as we know, Carlton had been having question marks over him for a long time now, and it's done.
Are you surprised that he coached the final game, Richo, knowing that it was the end?
No, I think because we know that he wants to be a career coach, he wanted to go out with his head held high. I think he's done that, as Damien just said. He was magnificent all last week. And again, after the game yesterday at his press conference, was told he didn't have to do it, did it, and went in there and conducted himself really well. But I was a little bit surprised with some of the reaction of people, because the phones on Talkback Radio were going off the hook this year with Carlton fans, getting into Brett Ratton. So, yeah, a little bit surprised by some people standing and applauding as loudly as they did.
Speaking of Talkback Radio, Richo, yesterday you were sitting alongside Mick Malthouse for the afternoon, the man that everyone in the AFL thinks is a certainty to replace Brett Ratton. And he had this to say, basically saying, it is on now, I'm going to meet with Carlton.
I will meet Carlton. I mean, that's just a fact. And I need to see where they're at and where they're going. They need to see where I'm at, because I haven't spoken to them. I have not spoken to Carlton Football Club.
Who's your manager?
Well, Peter's just got out of hospital, so I'll make the assessment that he has. I spoke to him this morning to see how he was, more about anything else. But he would be, I guess, spoken to them. But he knows my position right now.
Mick Malthouse there, I heard you grilling him there yesterday, Richard. I think, as Darcy said, officially it's on now by Mick admitting to the interview. Unofficially, though, it's been on for some time. And that's not to call anyone a liar in terms of have you spoken to Mick Malthouse or Greg Swan or Stephen Kernahan. But behind the scenes, this has been in the making for some time, and I'm sure you think that too.
Yeah, look, I think Mick yesterday officially said that he is going to meet with them now, so I think we all probably think that he will get the job there. We asked him yesterday if he would take his own assistants and if his philosophy at coaching had changed at all. He said he wasn't sure on all of those things. He had to wait and see what the Blues wanted as well. But it's going to be an interesting few weeks with Mick.
He'll take two assistants at least, Dars, maybe three in an ideal world. He'll want to have a say in the fitness area of the club, which does put into question Justin Cordy's position, because he and Brett Ratton just did not see eye to eye at all, and there was a fair bit of politicking going on there. But yeah, he's got Gavin Brown already on part of that coaching staff, who he's very respectful of, and he will certainly survive the cut, whatever comes.
Now, in that game, there's a fair bit of angst going on, Richo, the Carlton St Kilda final game, and Stephen Milne's reaffirmed his status as the #1 pest in the league, as voted by you, Richo. He's going beautifully.
I love Milne. He is an absolute beauty, and it was on all day between him and Andrew Walker, and you just don't antagonise Milne. He actually enjoys this, and Walker was into him all day. Look, he mightn't have been best on ground, but he stood up and kicked a couple of goals when it was needed, and I think that brings out the best in Milne. He really thrives on the crowd getting into him, and Andrew Walker, I would have just pegged it back a bit, I reckon.
Not the bloke that you want to fire up, Milne. As you said, he just absolutely loves it. Hey, let's turn our attention to this Friday. It is going to be massive, Hawthorn and Collingwood, and the big selection drama for me, for Collingwood, of course, is going to be the backup ruckman role. Hey, Nick Maxwell, Richo, you and I were there Saturday night watching him try and compete, and not farcical, but I just don't think this serves anyone. It doesn't help Nick Maxwell. I reckon he just gets monstered. The team lose confidence. They're trying to go third man up. They've got to get a replacement in to have a backup for Jolly.
Well, the ones we saw there with Maxwell and Hill, in the end, Pendlebury did start trying to come over the top. They actually got a couple of goals out of this late in the game, Essendon. And what do you think, Das? Will they have to bring Chris Dawes back for this scenario? Will Jolly, or will they go with this model and just have Jolly do every centre bounce and not around the ground?
Well, I know Dawes wasn't exactly shooting the lights out in the ruck. I don't think it suits him at all, but at least he's 100 kilos. At least he's a big frame. You can get some competition from him. He's had the week off. He hasn't played. Hawthorn's biggest issue they've got is people still think you can get hold of their defenders. Gibson and Showmakers are undersized. Cloak got back in form. I just reckon, given who it is, that's been their formula. I'd run the risk and put Dawes back in. I don't think Jackson Payne in a big final is going to
But
get
for the first
job done.
time you've taken him out of the team, Travis Cloak has had his best game of the year. And that's the dilemma there right now.
Yeah, look, for 2 years, they were the best forward combination in the game.
But they weren't for 22 weeks
But
this
you
year.
can't link one necessarily to the other.
I think you can.
Well, you can try and do that, but by both sides for years have been trying to get a good centre forward and a good full forward. So the formula says you can play two key forwards, Richard. It's whether or not you think he can actually get his form back. Sometimes you get the job, you get a week to think about it. Big final, I reckon it's worth the risk. What do you think?
Well, they may go with the experience over a young player in a big final, but the other interesting thing is the Hawks ruckman, Hale and Roughhead, they were really good against Natanui and Cox the other night.
I reckon they almost cracked the form if there is one against Natanui in the centre.
What do they do, Das? Take us through it.
Well, you're trying to always against someone who jumps that high across the line, but you've got to be really careful. If you go too early, you give away a free kick. So Hale's timed that perfectly. So you just step over, take his run away as much as you can.
So you're not allowed to go past the line, are you? But he has on a few
someone's run
occasions.
and don't give them a legitimate run at the footy, they'll pay a free kick every time. But you are allowed to contest and use your strength and use your advantage. But what I reckon they focused on, particularly around Natanui, was that they made sure their second efforts at ground level and all the other midfielders put a block on Natanui. You didn't see him storm through, take a bounce, kick a goal. And when he does that, I reckon the whole West Coast midfield get their body language and their energy up, and you can see that Rolly's in there. He wasn't able to get that normal clearance rate that he was at ground level, which is why he's so dangerous.
Well, when Natanui, at the size that he is, goes for it at ground level, it just creates a path for their other on-ballers to come into the play.
Geelong, we've been asking the question for the second half of the year almost weekly. Can they win this premiership from outside top four?
Well, I've been a little bit dubious about it all year until now. And now I'm sitting here going, Richo, September's on. They've got so many players there that know how to win. They're super confident. It's not beyond the realms of possibility for me that they could actually do it.
It's not. And if you speak to Tom Harley and Cameron Ling, they're pretty buoyant that they can do it. But don't count Fremantle out this week. Their form is as good as anyone. 8-1 in the last 9 weeks. They've shut teams down totally. Their defence is the best in the comp in that time, only 64 points against. It might be a real lockdown affair with Ross Lyon and the Cats this week.
Luke McFarlane's not available though for the Dockers. If he was in, would you be tipping them?
I'm almost tempted to tip them now. It's obviously it's hard to go against the Cats in Melbourne, but I'm nearly tempted to tip Freo this week.
Das?
Not sure Fremantle in a final are capable yet of beating Geelong, Richo, but I like your...
Premiership chance though, Geelong, or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Still a premiership chance.
They'll have to go and play interstate the next week. I don't think they're going to be too fearful of Sydney or in Adelaide, and then maybe meet Hawthorn if they've got the wood over in a prelim final. It absolutely could happen. How about the Adelaide Crows, Richo? A lot's been made of their draw all year, and we know they played the bottom 8 sides, the bottom 5 sides 8 times. They won all 8 games. Are they a serious threat?
I don't know if they can win it. They're every chance to get through to a prelim, though, obviously, and through to a grand final. They will get through to a prelim, I think. I think they'll win this week.
Why don't you rate them, though? That you're not really talking them buoyantly here, are you?
I think they're a finals team. They definitely deserve to be in the finals. I think second is a little bit above how they actually played this year. If you look at them, 8 wins against the bottom 5 teams and only 1 win against the top 4 side in Sydney, which it was in Sydney, so that was a good win, but I'm just not sure yet.
Not sure they're capable of challenging Hawthorn anywhere near Hawthorn at their best in a big final in Melbourne's a big issue. The other exciting thing for Geelong that we need to talk about, Nathan Vardy coming back. I spoke to Chris Scott at the end of last year and he said to me that this is one of the most exciting young players he's ever seen come through football. He had a hip surgery for a 3rd time. After the second one, he was told that it's very unlikely he'd ever play the game again. 4 weeks ago, he was no chance to play. They've played him in 2 VFL games and decided to throw him in. Look how well he moved. Can play ruck, play forward. They need a backup for West and an extra forward. How exciting is that? That might just be the thing that tips them into the position where they do get through to another prelim.
He's such an athlete. He came up, that centre bouncer, he jumped over the top, and to be able to then go forward and do this sort of stuff, coming out on the lead, what a great foil for Hawkins and Podsy Adley if you can throw Vardy down there all of a sudden. So just timed it beautifully, he has.
And he was going to be playing in the finals last year, wasn't he, guys, before he got that injury? He had put together a very, very good season.
He's a walk-up start.
Yeah.
In fact, he's their number 1 option in the ruck. If play one more game and he's in their top 10 players. That's how exciting he is. Let's just hope that injury doesn't affect him with his hip and he can move on. The other issue that they might have Geelong is a couple of match review panel decisions that we'll find out this afternoon. What do you reckon about Chapman, Richo? Has he got something to worry about?
Look, the problem for Chappie is there was a little bit of high contact there. Yeah, it wasn't much to me. I don't think there's anything in it. The only problem is he has got no leeway at all with his carryover points.
And here's the other interesting one too, guys. Stevie Johnson here on Hanbury. Off the ball, gets him, and then realises he's hurting to a point and tries to pick him up. Now, the match review panel, I know what you're going to say, Das. The match review panel has said you can't touch a distressed player.
Really? He's winded. That's sportsmanship.
Take this out with the match review panel, not me, all right?
Well, you're the one that's prosecuting the case.
The Selwood incident,
your school teacher, look at that.
Not allowed to even touch.
Do you want to see
Steve
Steve Johnson miss a final because someone got winded? He accidentally bumped him. Oh, you winded, I'll get you up. Richard, it's great. We should give him a
fair dinkum. A little bump like that in the middle of the ground. If he gets rubbed out and misses a Damo, you can't be serious.
I'm not saying he should, Richo and Das. Don't bring this on me. Go up and speak to Mark Fraser, the match review panel chairman.
Damo's your grade 3 teacher. You've been in the naughty corner every minute. Now, another big story that emerged on the weekend is Mark Williams. Big falling out. You've got the details. What's happening?
Just that the relationship became pretty much unworkable. So Mark Williams, rightly or wrongly, and it's clearly wrongly, felt that he was always going to succeed Kevin Sheedy as coach of that footy club.
Was there an agreement in place?
He felt there was. It certainly wasn't written, but he felt there was a verbal agreement made to him when he first signed the deal to be an assistant of that club. And as we know, they've gone through 1 year of an AFL life, and Kevin Sheedy's had his contract renewed for 1 more year on top of that. They want to get a coach in now who could become the main coach. I still think they are of the view they need an icon to replace an icon, but Mark Williams was not that iconic figure they felt they needed. And they had, if they hadn't been butting heads, they'd certainly be having some awkward conversations. And it's good that he's got out because it would have only festered. It has been festering for some time.
And Mark Williams linked to Richmond, Richo, you know anything about that?
No, definitely done. He'll be going to Richmond next year. In a development role, some people might have thought it was a senior assistant, a mentor to Damien Hardwick, who he's got a relationship with, obviously, at Port Adelaide Premiership together. So he's going to Richmond as a development coach.
Israel Folau, I want to talk about now. Damien Barrett's potted him all year, unmercifully. Showed a bit, Richo. I think there's enough to work with to persevere and try and turn him into a 100-game player.
Well, that's great to see come out and he goes back and slots the goal. Look, there's no doubt about his athletic ability, but anyone who's played AFL footy knows that you need a lot of time to learn this game, just the little nuances of it, where to position yourself, how to read the play, and it's going to take Israel a lot of time. And I've been a critic, I've wondered whether he can, but there were some promising signs on the week, and there's his athleticism, and that shows that he's starting to read the play a little bit.
And the model's there, Damien. Carmichael Hunt, same background, same story, has turned and proved himself to be absolutely worthy of playing. And
the argument that Carmichael Hunt is proving everyone wrong when Israel Folau doesn't wash. Carmichael Hunt has had a reasonable year of footy. It's not an argument changer when it comes to NRL converts becoming AFL superstars. He's had an okay year, does. Wouldn't get a game at most other clubs.
Some of us are glass half full, Damo, others a bit negative. James McDonald and Brad Scott had a lot of vacation. Now, Brad cleaned a few up over the journey, Richo. He took exception to James McDonald, which I love. It's the emotion of being a coach. You run out, you want to protect your young player. Left him in no uncertain terms what he thought about it.
The Scott brothers were as ruthless as anyone. They delivered a few of those, but he is just a competitor. They used to scare me on the ground, actually, the Scott brothers. I will admit that. But look at the eyes. They just get you every time.
Das, was there much actually in that bump McDonald gave on McMillan? It wasn't too bad, was it? It was off the ball.
It was probably off the ball.
Yeah.
You were cannon into him. Brad probably did it about 1,000 times himself. But, he was quite polite. James, second time James to get his attention. You don't have to be a great lip reader to see what followed that. Your mate Christian Newman stood down as captain. Richo, what's the background of that?
I just think it's time. He just thought that it was time to hand the reins over. He's going to play on, no doubt. He'll hand the number 17 over to the next captain. But he's been a great leader at the club through a time of transition and a lot of young players coming through. He's led them beautifully, Chris Newman. So
who's going to take over?
We think that it will be Trent Cotchin, but don't rule out Brett Deledio. He's stood up a lot around the club this year as a leader. I know they think he's done a great job, but you'd assume it'd be Trent Cotchin.
Now, a reminder, Damo, the OPSM fan face-off competition.
OPSM is giving you and a friend the chance to win the ultimate 2012 Toyota AFL Grand Final experience with the OPSM Fan Face-Off. Download the OPSM app and share your fan face to win.
And this week's winner is Michael from Brisbane. He's a keen Crows fan. Well done, Michael. You've won tickets to the 2012 Grand Final. Great prize that is. Now, we've had our OPSM poll question up this morning. You can head to our Facebook page to register your vote on should the AFL put a freeze on any rule changes for next year. We'll have the result of the poll on Friday's Access All Areas with Damien Barrett and Lee Matthews. What do you reckon, boys? Have we tinkered with the rules too much?
I think leave it alone. I'm of a view that just let it go for a couple of years. You change it every year. It takes players a little bit of time to adapt to these rule changes. If you keep constantly changing them, I've got no doubt players get confused at times as to what they're to do. So just leave it alone. Let them get used to the current rule changes and leave it at that.
Yeah, I agree, Daz. I hate this zone talk about having players in a certain part of the ground at a stoppage, and I don't even like that being trialled. And
is that right?
Yeah, there's talk about it in the NAB Cup anyway. And I reckon we just got to get right the positioning and the use of cameras on goal lines as a starting point.
Lots of tweets coming through, Damo. AFL_AAA. We asked, should there be any rule changes, and if so, what? Mr. Bredicus, he says the advantage rule needs to be sorted out, and he reckons the 50-metre penalty is too costly for little things like running over the mark. Richo, should there be a 25-metre penalty or tinker with that at all?
I just said we shouldn't change anything, but he's actually got a little bit of a point. 50 metres for some of the indiscretions now seems really harsh. You'd hate a game to be won, a grand final, with a minor one step over the mark 50-metre penalty.
Hamish says reward players for going in for the ball, don't penalise them for diving on it, trying to win possession. Is that something we need to look at, Damo?
No, I just think they need to start paying more holding the ball, because often a teammate comes in over the top. I'd pay attention to that one, Does.
Tweet from Brendan says deliberate rule. How can a kick into space that bounces sideways be deliberate? It's an oval ball that can bounce any different way. Have we overcooked that one, Richard?
Yeah, definitely overcooked that one. If you go 50 metres forward and a right angle goes out of play, it could have gone right angle back into play. So I don't think that should be deliberate.
I think the consistency is what you get. Start of the year it's one thing, and then it gets a little bit lighter. And final tweet, Rob says, let's make a rule that you can only, in special circumstances, change the rules like every other sport in the world. And it's an interesting one. A lot of people think if you've got a rules committee that meets so often, they're going to find a way to change the rules, and perhaps you appoint a special committee when you feel that there has been a change in the game. It's not a bad suggestion, rather than tinkering with it as much as we do.
Yep.
Let's take a look at the finals draw coming up, and seriously exciting. Damo in the first one, Hawthorn-Collingwood. Who's going to win, Richo?
Hawthorn for me. Collingwood, they got opened up a little bit through the middle by Essendon. They'd need to tidy that up against the Hawks with their ball use. I just think the Hawks will go through.
Yeah, Hawks for me as well.
Yeah, same again, Darcy. Just can't see Collingwood negating what they need to do with Buddy Franklin.
Adelaide Crows and Sydney.
I'm going the Swans on that one, Richard.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Crows at home.
Home ground advantage.
Yeah, I think so. In the finals, you'll stick with that.
Adelaide for me. West Coast at North Melbourne, that will be, in fact, at the first elimination final over there in Patterson Stadium.
I think West Coast at home. So tough to go over there and win, which you'd be flat as the North. They've been so good, but to cop West Coast over there, you can't tip against them.
Can't see West Coast getting beaten.
Just can't. I mean, look, they actually go okay over there in recent times, relatively recent times, North, but not on this occasion.
And you're going to be brave enough, Geelong and Fremantle, the second elimination final, Richard?
Will I go on record or not?
Yeah, I reckon you should.
Do it.
Yeah, I'll go Freo.
You're kidding yourself, Richard. What do you think?
I like it. The gambler.
Oh, yeah, I don't know about that one.
Going to be fascinating. First month of finals. Thank you to Richo. Great to catch up with him. Damien Barrett and Lee Matthews will be back for the Friday edition of Access All Areas. Enjoy the finals the first week. As we say goodbye, we'll leave you with OPSM's Did You See That?
Round 23, when we all saw Dixon storm through the pack.
Right through them. Absolutely brilliant.
And Thomas take out Haynes.
Well done from Lindsay Thomas to box on there.
There were some clips you may not have seen. Heads. Shoulders.
Hits him on the shoulder.
And gums.
And there's just a bit of a look at your stock standard Collingwood supporter.
The top clips you missed from a week of ball flinging fun. This is Did You See That?
Did you see that?
Clip 1. Collingwood are trying to chase down another grand final appearance. Meanwhile, here's Swan chasing down a dog.
Trying to get rid of Swan, got him. That's a genuine goal-saving tackle. That one.
Clip 2. 2012 has seen some great contenders for the Weird Run-Up Awards. Did you see Josh Kennedy's twinkle-toed entry?
He's got this unusual run-up. Look at that. It doesn't give you a lot of confidence, does it? But that's his way, and he's just hooked it.
Clip 3. Fremantle saw out the home and away season with a crushing 61-point victory, helped in no small part by this from Ballantyne.
Away goes Ballantyne. He loves this situation. Come and catch me. I don't think you can. Go, Ballantyne.
Clip 4. When Stevie J knocked down Hanbury behind the play, we saw his chivalrous side.
He sees Hanbury down. He goes, I'll give you a hand getting up.
It's amazing what the threat of a pre-finals booking will do. Clip 5. Adelaide earned themselves a home final after they and Dangerfield shrugged off the Gold Coast Sun.
And he strikes well up. I'll put it in the book. This will go in the highlights reel. Runs in, open goal there is perfection.
Clip 6. An injury in round 23 is a way to miss the finals. But it wasn't the only thing Cox was worried about missing.
Oh, right in the midriff, eh?
Maybe a little lower than the midriff where that foot went, I suspect.
That was politically correct.
For your chance to win a pair of Oakley sunglasses valued at $159.95, go to www.afl.com.au/Did You See That and vote for your favourite Did You See That moment.